Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's time once again for our show called Living Hope, a weekly journey where we bring in the people who are really dealing with this deadly disease and what they deal with on a daily basis. With our host, I won't say she knows the most, but she knows an awful lot about it after what she's been dealing with for 200 years now or something. It's a long time. I can't remember. The number gets bigger and bigger. That's all I know. Thank goodness. Roberta Luna, welcome.
Thank you, Paul. Let's go with 21 years. How's that?
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to live to be at least 100, but I'm not 200.
Yeah, so 100. You're going to make 100 years.
Yes, I think I will.
100 years with pancreatic cancer. All right. Well,
There you
today you have another person who's going through the same journey. Bring him in. Who'd you bring with you today?
Yeah, thank you. Today we have Jay Sandler with us. Jay is a 10-year pancreatic cancer survivor and has been dealing with it. He's going to give us a little bit of background on what he's been doing, his journey with it, and how he actually turned that into something positive towards the end. So, Jay, thank you so much for coming, and we really appreciate it. We want to hear your story.
Roberta, I just want to say how grateful I am to be able to come here and to do this, and not just how grateful I am to be alive every day.
Exactly, definitely.
My story starts off with me being in Massachusetts to attend a funeral of my best friend growing up back there, and I was in the bathroom, the little bathroom, and I remember when that bathroom was put in, and I'm being very nostalgic, as you have to stoop over because of how it fit into the house. It had a low ceiling, and I'm looking down, and I noticed that my urine is a very dark orange, and that kind of gave me a bit of a shiver, and I took out my cell phone midstream and called my doctor back in California. And I let her know what was going on and left a message. And when I woke up the next day in Massachusetts, I've had a message from her saying that she set up an appointment for me when I returned to California. And I went to her office directly from LAX. And she said, "Well, I think we got to look into this further, and I want you to see a gastroenterologist, and I'll have an appointment for him on Saturday."
Wow, Saturday. That's unusual.
On Saturday, but before you see him, you need to take a CT scan. So right from the beginning, she was eliminating essentially weeks of delay. Because the normal routine is you go see the gastroenterologist, and it takes a week, and then it's another week to get a CT scan, another week to get back to the gastro. So time was compressed in here, and that's kind of like all the steps that I went through kind of were that way. And so I got from that first symptom to the operating table in 17 days, which is unusual from what I've heard, partly because of the way the bureaucracy that medicine works, and probably mostly because that pancreatic cancer hides. It is an insidious disease. It hides. The symptoms are masked. There's no test for it, so it's tough. So I consider myself very, very lucky that I was able to get in as fast. And to get in, my surgeon was Dr. Howard Reaver, and one of the best in the world. And divine direction that I wound up with him, because I would not have known what to do or how to get there.
Yeah. I think Paul has a question for you real quick.
I have a comment more than anything else. Okay. I've now sat in this chair for some time listening to these stories, and the common story I hear is two delays. One, I saw something was kind of out of the ordinary. I better check into that one of these days. Not hey, I call my doctor in the middle of going to the bathroom and say, "What's this?" Midstream, as you said. That seems pretty dramatic. So people put it off. They don't think, I got a backache, I got a stomach ache, I got discoloration in my urine. Gee, that's not good. I better watch that. I better pay attention. And months might go by, or weeks go by where you're doing that. And then when you get to the doctor, the other one I hear you always say is, well, they want to rule out everything else. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. That's the last thing they want to think about is pancreatic cancer. So talk about that a little bit. That's a really rapid 17 days from the minute you notice a symptom to you're sitting in surgery. That I've never heard of anything that fast.
Very quick. So yeah, please let's.
The only thing I can say is that the doctors that I've had were just phenomenal. And when I say that I had divine direction to get to these doctors, I'm not kidding. I believe that, and the reason is that the reason I say that is that I lived in Sherman Oaks, and I heard of a good doctor, and I said because I had developed diabetes, and and she sounded like a good doctor, and her specialty is she was a primary care physician. Her specialty was women's medicine. Okay, she took me as a patient, and the remarkable thing is that I lived in Sherman Oaks, and she was in Ventura, not Ventura County, at the end of the road.
Quite a ways, yeah.
Ventura. So that's like over 60 miles away, and she had the prescience to understand that it could be something serious. It could be something serious, and she went to the definitive test for a lot of things, right away.
What was the first test she did for you?
She did a CT scan.
CT scan.
She did a CT scan, and then when I saw the gastroenterologist, he said that the surgeon is going to want to see a CNN 19.9 in addition to the CT scan.
Yeah. Could you explain what the 19.9 is?
CA 19.9 is it's an imperfect test, but it's a test that evaluates how much of a particular protein you have, and this particular protein is given off by the pancreatic cancer cells. So, and it's imperfect because there are different reasons why someone could have a high CA 19.9. So it's not used as a screening tool, but once you have pancreatic cancer, then it's used to monitor your progress.
And that's done by blood work, right?
And that's done by blood work. So I went in to, since Dr. Reaver was at UCLA, I went to the UCLA lab, and I did that on a Sunday morning because that was the best time for traffic. And I figured let him have it when I get there. And that's why I wanted it to be done at UCLA to eliminate that. And when I went in for the appointment, I wanted him to have all the information. Yeah. That's how I felt I could compress the schedule. And it was interesting because Sunday morning at 7:00 Sunday morning, nobody's there. There aren't a lot of people there. I wasn't in the system, and it took a while for them to game me into the system so they could actually do the blood test. But they did. And we got everything, and he had everything that he needed in order to make the decision. I asked him about second opinion, and he said, well, we can see it right here. we scheduled it right after the first year, and
So that was your symptoms actually started in December, and then by January you were already getting ready until you had your Whipple.
from December 17th to January 4th.
Yeah. Again, like I said, that's amazing because generally it takes anywhere from really 3 months on to get a lot of this stuff done. You alluded a little bit to pancreatic cancer and the difficulty, and one of the reasons is because, for one, the symptoms can be so vague, it can be almost any other disease. And the reason why it is so hard to find is because of the location of the pancreas. It's behind the stomach and more on the spine than, just laying down and feeling that they're generally not going to fail unless it's a really large tumor. So, yeah.
And it progresses quietly, silently.
And
There-
it can be very quickly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went in, you had your Whipple. Did they prepare you? How did they prepare you for the Whipple? Or did they, as far as telling you what it was going to be like, how long it was going to take, or anything like that?
Well, they told me it was a long operation, and it could go from 6 to 9 hours. I'm not exactly sure how long mine took. They said that I would be in the hospital about a week, and when I left the hospital, I would slowly be able to pick up my life, and all of that happened, and is true. I had no complications. It's not uncommon for people to develop an infection or whatever that they have to deal with, but I had no complications from the surgery. Really the most minor thing was it was really minor, is that I had a part of my incision had not healed, so I had a little fissure around my belly button, which is a nothing, and it's all the time. It's something that happens all the time. And they had a visiting nurse come in once a day, or I guess every other day, to change the bandage, and it healed in a week or two.
So you were able to go home, and were you able to pretty much pick up a normal life, or did you have to make dietary changes or anything?
Well, in the beginning, you have to experiment with what you eat, and I became diabetic. I became insulin dependent. I was a diabetic before, but I became insulin dependent, and that was a new thing. And then they told me that I would have to take Creon, and it was kind of funny the way they an experience, because they said you're not going to be able to digest just fat and oils, so you're going to need this Creon pill, and oh, by the way, it's expensive. I said okay. And the surgeon said, don't take it unless you need it. And I said okay. And but meanwhile, when the registered dietitian was telling me in her very quick visit, because they're very the registered dietitian is very important in the recovery, but it's hard to get them because they're extremely busy. So when she told me that I wasn't going to digest fat unless I took the Creon, I said to myself, yay, I can have as much ice cream as I want as long as I don't take the pill. And I did. I used to have 2 bowls of ice cream every day, one with hot sauce, with dark hot chocolate, and one with milk chocolate chips. I mean, why would you combine them? I mean, so, but the only issue with that is that I was on the toilet 10 times a day before noontime, because it was a lot of fat. I never had diarrhea. my stools would always be unformed, but it was never really diarrhea. And I don't think I ever took Lomotil or any kind of over-the-counter or prescription medicine for frequent bowel movements. One reason was because it was the price I was willing to pay to have those two things of ice cream. But through my journey, my dentist said you should take probiotics. So I said, so I called my gastroenterologist. I said, "Is it okay?" And he said, "Sure." We don't know. Well, it's not going to harm you, and we don't know if it's going to help you, but it's not going to harm you. And that helped. From 10 down to 8, so that was good. And then I developed a stent. I'm sorry. I developed a blockage in an artery. So the heart doctor said, you should really go on the Cleveland Clinic diet, which is limit oils to 10% of your daily calories, which is extremely difficult to do. And no salt, and very heart healthy, extremely restrictive heart healthy diet.
No 2 bowls of ice cream, right?
No 2 bowls of ice cream, and vegan. So 2 bowls of ice cream, 2 less poops. Vegan, 2 less poops. And then my gastro got a new gastro. Okay, and we're talking, she said, "Well, why don't you try taking a little bulk foaming laxative?" And I said, "Okay." And she said, "Well, it takes out the liquid in your if you have too much liquid in your intestines, it'll absorb it. So you'll have less. It'll
form it up better.
Yeah."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay," so I did that. 2 more gone. So each little thing, and then the Creon. I finally started taking. I started taking the Creon. My problem, the thing was that I felt I didn't need the Creon. First, I didn't want the Creon so I could have the ice cream. Then, when I got down to such a low content of fat in my food, I said, I don't need the Creon. So I stopped taking the Creon. And I would advertise this. I would tell every doctor, I'm not taking the Creon. And got a new gastroenterologist. And they kept leaving me. I don't know what happened. I don't
They
know.
moved on.
I don't know why, but they changed offices. So I got a new gastro comes in, and I explained to her, and she says, "Okay, it seems to be bothering you. Why don't we test you?" So they tested me for all kinds of minerals, and I did not have any A, D, E, or K in my body, because A, D, E, and K are fat soluble. If your body doesn't digest the fat, it doesn't get at certain vitamins. Mm-hmm. So now I take a vitamin that was originally developed for people with cystic fibrosis. That is easier for me to absorb. And by the way, I'm taking the Creon. I'm taking.
You broke down and did the Creon.
Yeah, I'm taking the Creon.
Did you do chemo after your Whipple, or was it just the Whipple, or did it follow up with chemo?
Back then, they did not start off with chemo before the Whipple, and I had Fulfurnox, 6 months of Fulfurnox after.
After the surgery?
After the surgery. And, I got to say that the surgery is tough, but you get through it. Okay,
Yeah.
and Furanox, everything they say about it is absolutely true.
It's a
Oh,
tough one. No, very
okay,
tough.
but you get through it. And Furanox is my understanding is one of the more effective for certain people, um, because it's got four agents instead of one or two. So
Yeah. And then you went for a period of time where you had no evidence of disease, and then it reoccurred, and you went through a new procedure.
yes, I went through, well, not a procedure, a new chemo.
Oh, okay. New
A
chemo.
new chemo, and I had about 3 months NED, which is no evidence of disease, and that's typically measured with your CA 19-9 under 35. And I had 3 months being very happy, but always looking in the rearview mirror. So I went in and my CA 19-9 elevated. It was in the 50s, and then we repeated it, and it got higher. Uh, so we started back on, started gemcitabine and Abraxane. And I was on that for 3 or 4 months, and then it got clear. Thought I had it made, then took out the port. Okay, and then 4 months later, the CN19 is going back up again. And I don't even remember what that third agent was, what the third agent was, except that it wasn't doing very much. And then, being very lucky, again, grateful, is that they developed, they developed, or I guess it was in development for a while, but it finally became available, uh, was the liquid biopsy. And from that, they were able to collect the circulating cancer cells in your blood, isolate them, and then do a DNA analysis on the tumor itself.
So the liquid biopsy, is that where did they go into the pancreas, or was that done through blood work, or how was
Blood
that
work.
done? Blood work.
Blood work,
Amazing.
and they got the circulating cells within your blood. And I guess with the science of it all, it doesn't need to be. They don't need to be actually full-blown cancer cells, but the tests are able to use some of the destroyed cells that are still partial cells that are still circulating. So based on that, they found something. I honestly don't know what the mutation was. When I suggested it to the doctor, and then we were first talking about it, and he said, "Jay, this is great, but this is like brand new. This is like just months old. We don't know. I don't know that I'll know what to do with the information that it gives us, because it's so new. But you can spend the $1,800." I said, "Okay." And I figured that I had to do anything and everything possible I could to improve my odds.
Right.
And that was what saved my life. Because when the results came back, he said, "Oh, I can do something with this." And he put me on Gleevec. And I've been NED ever since.
Right. And how long has that been now?
6 years. 6 years.
Well, congratulations. That's
Yeah,
great.
6 years.
Yeah.
And it was great to get to get the news about Gleevec. Okay. And then the pharmacy called and said, "Well, Mr. Sandler, maybe we think you should talk to the specialty division, because this these pills, this Gleevec is $12,000 a month."
Oh.
And that's not, and the insurance company doesn't,
Yeah, very expensive.
So they found, thankfully, they found a patient assistance program. And I had to pay, a chunk of change out of my own pocket. but the Patients Assistance Program took the brunt of it, and I would have been alive but broke.
Well, good. And unfortunately, we're really we're getting to the end. We're running out of some time. But I know that you are one of the mediators of a peer-to-peer support group. Can you just tell us about that really quickly and give people an idea how they can get in touch with you?
Yes, the peer-to-peer. It's a peer-to-peer support group. It is facilitated by ancan.org. ancan.org. So if you just put in, in the browser, put in ancan.org/pancreatic, it will bring to you our little page. It'll introduce the moderators, and we meet on the fourth Thursday every month at 5 o'clock.
Pacific time?
Pacific time. We encourage new people to come in 10 minutes early so we can make sure your audio and video works. We don't use Zoom, so we use something else. ANCAN was the originator of peer-to-peer internet virtual support groups, and we have a group that runs between 6 to 20 people, normally around a dozen. There are times when we have over 100 years of survivorship on the call, and it's a great place for newly diagnosed, whatever your stage is, wherever you are. It's a great place to come for new people. We've got with the people that are on that call have got experience with every therapy, every different kind of clinical trial, every kind of chemo, all the variations of pancreatic surgery. So it's a great place for to learn a lot, and for people that have been around for a while, it's a great place to share your experience and to help people on their journey.
Yeah, I think, and I plan on attending the next one. I missed the one, but I do plan on attending the next one, and we will put the website out there as well so people can get it. But that was ancan.org/pancreatic.
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, we will make sure to put that on there. But I do want to thank you for coming and sharing your story. And unfortunately, the time goes by so fast that I know there was a lot more to talk about, but it just doesn't. Maybe we need to extend. I'm not sure. We'll have to talk to Paul about that later on. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming. And As Long as You Say My Name, I Shall Live Forever is dedicated today to Doug Snyder. Doug died in 2017 after a 2-year battle. Was a firing force with the OC affiliate and their planning committee for Purple Stride. He was an amazing, generous man who donated his body to science to improve healthcare for future generations. So just wanted to give a shout out to Doug Snyder and his family and thank them for everything that he did for us in that 2-year battle that he had.
Well, there you have it. One more reason to tune in each and every time to Living Hope, our real live living journey with those struggling through and with pancreatic cancer. The real life stories of those really dealing with it and how they deal with it on a daily basis. And if you know somebody who's dealing with it, or maybe it's you, lots of resources out there. We've given you several through this series. Let's give you one today. That's a good one, and that is, of course, the Hirschberg Foundation for Pancreatic Cancer Research up in UCLA. Go listen to some of their past interviews in this show and reach out to them. They got lots of resources to help you. Pancreatic.org. Doesn't get any simpler than that. PANCREATIC, pancreatic.org, or call them at 310-473-5121. For the OC Talk Radio Network, I'm Paul Roberts, thanking you for joining us, hoping you'll share this story with somebody else, and come back and hear more as we stream live from our studios here at the University of California, Irvine's Beale Applied Innovation Center.